For the long-awaited sushi video, here it is. Sushi, ginger, matching chopsticks, and a plate. Let's get into it. To make the sushi, you're going to need avocado, crab, cucumber, and rice. And also a dark green seaweed color, almost black. To make the avocado, you're going to need a lime green, yellow, and some translucent clay. Go ahead and mix the yellow and the translucent, and then you're going to mix it with the green and then run it through your pasta machine or your clay machine. Continue to run it through your machine, folding it over each time and then running it through until you get your desired effect. You can also use your finger to remove all the bubbles and blend out that color. Here I'm just going to be blending out the color since I have my desired effect. You want it to be a little bit more green than yellow. For the salmon meat, you're going to need some translucent clay, roll it into a ball, then grab some red and a salmon color and roll that into a ball. Then you're going to roll them out into long snakes. After you roll them out into snakes, you can go ahead and start putting them together. Make sure that the salmon color is directly in the center. Now you can go ahead and place it in your pasta machine until you get your desired effect. For the rice, you're going to just roll out little balls and then roll them into small cylinders. For the seaweed, I just made my own tool by using tin foil, rolling it up, and putting it on one of my plastic skewers. And then you're going to just continue to roll it, tap it, pat it. You want kind of that seaweedy effect. Now that you've got your desired color for the crab, you're just going to take some tin foil and start scratching at it. This is just going to give the illusion that it comes off in flakes. You can go ahead and add some more texture to the top and around the edges. I just did this by using tin foil. And then I cut them into slices. And then I just went ahead and cut them into slices. Once I cut them into slices, I just group them up and add texture just with my X-Acto knife. And this just gives it more of that illusion that it's not kind of just square pieces. Here I'm just going to show you how I made that crab meat that I just cut a second ago. You're just going to add some translucent and then lay some of these orange-red color right over the top. It's that same one that you use for the salmon, you're just not going to use that peachy salmon color, just the reddish-orange color. Now you can just take some tin foil and circle it around and start piecing all of your pieces together, adding your avocado and all of your cucumber and everything together. You're going to need to bake all of your little rices that you've done. Once they're all baked, you're going to start rolling them onto your sushi. The way that I found this the easiest was to apply some first, your oven baked clay adhesive, and then go ahead and place on your rice. Once all my rice was done and I continued to bake it in layers, I went ahead and added these little tiny seed beads. They're black. They look super cute and super realistic, like little seeds. Just take some of that oven baked clay adhesive and you can add these seeds, and then you're going to rebake it again. Once you rebake it, you can go ahead and add your glaze. Remember, don't bake it afterwards. This will just give it some shine and realism. This part is optional, but if you wanted to make wasabi, I'm going to show you how to do it. You're probably going to want to keep it wet instead of dry for the display. But you're going to use some of that green wasabi color, and then you're going to just add some liquid polymer clay. I just mixed it with my fingers. I did try to bake it, but it just kind of looked plastic. So I really think that if you were going to use this as a display, you're going to want to keep this wet instead of baking it. Wasabi has kind of a different kind of texture than you get it with baking. I think that it takes away the texture that it's looking for, and it definitely has that kind of pasty texture when it's wet. The ginger, you're going to take translucent clay and mix it with a little bit of yellow. You're kind of looking for a french fry or a potato color. And then you're going to lay them all out. First, I'm going to show you how to make a flower. You're going to lay them all out like petals. And then you're just going to start rolling each of the corners up, just like you would a rose. You'll just start with one corner, pushing it up, and then rolling it up. I ended up not using the ginger flower, but I am showing you here how you can do it as a display. If you decide to not do the flower, just make sure you bake them and separately laid out. I'm going to show you 2 ways to make the plates. So the first way is to grab your eyeshadow or your mica powder, and you're going to just add all of that to one color of your clay. I chose to do it with the yellow first, and then I cut them into squares, very small squares. And I like to add the mica powder before I cut it, just because it helps it so it doesn't stick together. And then I add the powder afterwards, but you're going to want to cut all of these into small little squares. Now you're going to repeat that process with the red. Go ahead and grab it and then rub all of that color in, and then you're going to slice it just like you did that gold color or the yellow color. The mica powder, it definitely came out gold. It was very pretty. Just repeat that process, cutting them into small squares. I also added some black. I did have a little piece of gold that stuck in the black, but that's okay. And I just added more of that gold shimmer mica powder or eyeshadow. And I just put it all on my pieces before I chop them up, just to ensure again that they don't stick. After you've chopped up all of your pieces, you can go ahead and use your liquid polymer clay or your oven baked clay adhesive. Both of them work. I've tried it with both, but I really like the way that the effect comes from the oven baked clay adhesive. But you just want to mix all of those pieces together, and then you're going to add a bunch of that right on the top. I'd say probably about a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons. Once you get that on the top of there, you're going to want to mix it all together. Make sure you mix it really well and thoroughly in between each piece, just because that mica powder doesn't help to keep all the pieces attached. You really want to make sure that all those pieces will go back nice when you try and push it back together. Flatten it down a little bit. Then I use my X-Acto knife to cut slices, and then I'm going to turn those slices upright and place them together until I get the design that I'm looking for. At this point, you don't want to add more of that liquid polymer clay. It does stick together pretty well, and you're also going to put it in your clay roller so it'll stick really nice. If you see now that I'm cutting it, how it has that really cool marble in the center, that's what you're looking for. Don't worry about what the outside looks like. You're not going to be using that outside part. Here I'm going to show you with a green one that I did as well. I just went and did exactly the same thing. I just decided to do a kind of a green color. These look like little rocks, but once I squished it together, it was absolutely beautiful. Just complete that process, and here's what it looked like. And then I rolled it out, and I did it like this. And then for the red one, I did exactly the same thing. I put it in my pasta machine, I rolled it out, and then I'm going to size my sushi right on the top of there, and then I'm going to place the pieces together so that I can make it a little bit wider, just because it wasn't wide enough for the sushi. Then go ahead and cut your plate shape. For the ginger, you're just going to start adding some glaze. That glaze is just going to give it more of a realistic kind of wetness look like ginger has. See, if you don't have it, it kind of looks like a potato peel or a dry potato. But once you add that glaze, it definitely adds some color and depth. Make sure you do it after baking. Here I'm just going to show you how to add a thin layer of glaze. Use your paintbrush and go in circular motions. Try to stay away from lines, just because lines look really fake. Especially on polymer clay, I really like to use circles. It helps just kind of blend out all of that glaze that you're going to place on there. And then once you place all of your glaze on there, you can place all of your ginger how you like them and then place them. Here I'm going to show you how to make two different kind of bears. This is the panda. So for the panda, you're going to take two balls. The top part needs to be a little larger than the bottom. And then you're going to start shaping them together. And you kind of want to curve out the belly a little bit so it looks like he's sitting. And you want the bottom of the head to be flat and the top of the head to be round. You're going to want to repeat that process twice and make sure that they're exactly the same size so your chopsticks match up. Then I'm just going to add a little pin. And that's just going to go right inside. And this is just going to make sure that everything stays together. And then I can kind of shape around that pin too. Make sure you do that with both of your bears. So I'm going to show you how I did the arms and the legs. So for the arms and the legs, you're going to roll out some small balls. You're going to want to roll out a cylinder, and you're only going to want to push on one side. You're going to want two balls that are a little bit larger, and then two more balls that are a little bit smaller. So for the two larger ones, you're going to want to use those for the legs, and then for the two smaller, you'll use those for the arms. When placing them on, make sure that you flatten down one part and then curve over the leg. So you kind of want like a joint where his leg goes on the opposite side, if that makes sense. Here I can kind of just show you, but you want like kind of a bend in his legs. For the arms, you're going to repeat exactly the same process, and then you're going to fold over the arms so that the arms kind of meet towards the middle, and that'll also give that joint like he has a little shoulder. You're going to repeat that process twice. Now I'm going to show you how you can do their ears. For their ears, you're just going to take 4 small balls, and you're going to roll out one ball, flatten it down with your finger, pull it off, and then use your X-Acto knife and cut it off. Then you're going to use your oven baked clay adhesive, and you can stick them on. I did roll it a little bit and then push it down. And then I also flattened it down on my thumb again, just because I didn't like the thinness that it had in the top part. But this way you know for sure you get the right dimensions. Since you cut it in half, you'll have the right size on both sides. Now you can go ahead and repeat that process for the other bear. And then once you've got everything completed, you can kind of play around with it just to see how you like the display. I went and laid it out, and I put the little bears on there. I was going to glue them down, and I decided I didn't want to. That way I can have them kind of like rolling around or moving them any direction that I wanted while it was displayed. I'm just going to show you how I made those chopsticks. With the chopsticks, I wanted them to match the plate. So I'm just rolling them out just like I did the pandas. You want to roll the bellies out exactly the same size again. I just set them together so I can make sure that they were the same size. And then I placed them on the bottom of the skewer, like this. And then I repeated that for the other one. Now I'm just going to show you a little bit in depth. I ended up sharpening the skewer on the opposite side. And then I put glue and kind of shoved it inside the bottom. And then I let it stick on right after that. It stayed on. I've had no problems with them coming off, and I've been doing them like this for years. So again, I'm going to just add that oven baked clay adhesive, and I'm going to place the head directly on, making sure that they're exactly the same size on both, And then I will add the arms and the legs. So just like you did the panda bears, you're going to complete them exactly the same way. After you complete those, you can go ahead and put your display up or however you would like to make it. And bake the 2 little bears on the skewers. And then you have your cutest little chopsticks. And here's the display. I hope you absolutely enjoyed this project, and if you try it, tag me. Remember, like and subscribe.